today for some important reason. Probably because it's just important enough on its own. I'm finding some balance. Now this girl, part of what helped me make my own personal breakthrough in, like, I don't know, the dialectic. There's always a dialectic. Come here, kitty. Women aren't supposed to like me if I'm a man with a cat. I listen to some very strange balanced shit. What they said in another video, which is Michaela Peterson. I like watching her show too, because she reminds me of a friend of mine. This morning I woke up to her dad having a discussion with they were talking about some blowing away ass shit that I thought about in my whole life and I've never heard anybody say. But this lady, the reason why I want to play her.
So right after this moment is where, if you've heard this song before, you would probably recognize it.
She's laughing, and it's like they're telling a story, and she's trying to share back her world. And I think she's an honest person doing something. I watched her do the video that she does where she's listening to Metallica 1 for the first time. And a lot of people used to say that was Metallica was causing people to commit suicide. That's not what that song was about. That's a perfect example of a song I forgot was controversial and why. But so to watch her, and I'll come back and fully watch it.
I'll get into the song proper, if you will. Up until this point, we've had a recitative, and it's a little more through composed than early recitatives you may have heard. Recitatives, it's where a lot of dialogue and action tends to happen in an opera. You can hear there's a lot of shifting in the music underneath. There tends to be a lot of lyrics that go by very quickly. And it's about setting up a scene, usually. So these two ladies are by the river, and they're saying, oh, look, these flowers are blooming. And the other one says, oh, it's so happy, or nice to see you happy. And they essentially decide they're going to go down to the river and gather flowers. So that's all set up within the recitative.
I can do that
and
right now.
As we got towards the end of this recitative, there's even hints of how the song is going to develop, and they're going to essentially languish in the beauty of the moment, just really draw out the emotions further in the song proper. The two women that we have here today...
So she's really good in picking up those nuances. Now, what has that got to do with anything? Well, look. Theory. It may not always be one thing just balancing out another thing. Sometimes it's actually the combination of things. Like fire and air balancing earth and water. Where you can really get balance is when you have the yin yang with the yin and the yang. Does that make sense? It allows there to be unity under a doorway of polarization being able to go forward, but now being able to be pulled in and not drawn off onto that shit. And here's why. I think it'll make more sense when I go to your history. I saved this one because it was a very fucking badass conversation by Jordan Peterson, and he was talking to this guy named John something. I don't know the guy's last name. Are you gonna make it? I'm coming right for it. I think I'm getting there. I'm closer. It's gotta be right around here. Where the hell is it at? Oh, come on. Have I gone too far? I have. I'm sorry. Because I'm not cutting this shit out. I'm just not doing it. I'm looking for Jordan Peterson, and I seem to have passed him up. Oh, what the fuck? There it is, right here. It said,
and the idea is there's something.
A conversation so intense, it might as well be psychedelic. This is a badass video. Can I share it? I can get it and put it in the link. If you watch this, the concepts that they talk about in this video are fucking phenomenal. They're real deep and they cover the whole height and depth of the reality.
There's something about the way the Logos gathers things together so they belong together. That's the original.
Yeah, so that everything comes together.
Everything comes together. And then there's the idea in Plato of the ascent from the cave, the anagoge. You and Jonathan talked about this. The world discloses itself to me, that transforms me, and then I can see more deeply into the world, then that transforms me, and I do this reciprocal opening. And the thing is, that's very much, if you know.
And agape, do you define that? That's love.
Yeah, accelerating mutual disclosure is how it's even disclosed.
Well, it seemed to me that the relationship between truth and love is that love is the something like the goal, and truth is its servant. It seems to me to be same, because so this is how I've worked it in my mind. Is that
sure.
Well, I think that truth is the best servant of reality. Truth is the servant of reality, and reality, I think, best manifests itself as love.
Well, one of the slogans I have in my...
That's why this power claim is so abhorrent to me. The claim that power is the central motivating factor for the Western endeavor is tantamount, I believe, to saying that it's the basic endeavor of the human species. And I think that's opposite of the truth. I think this agape and logos is more accurate. And so it's not just a counterclaim, it's an antithesis.
Well, I'm trying to pick up on what you're saying here. I'm trying to touch on the culture wars, obviously. Well, that's I think.
So, not to say that anyone needs my opinion on this or that, red or blue, but I'm telling you, purple, Han, hologram. Well, there's this purple dye that's multi-dimensional or something called purple Han. Let's look it up. I'll show you. I think it is something that you get when you blend the two. Because I've looked into this purple Han stuff too. Or I've been exposed to it. And I think it has to do with colors and certain advanced powers that colors do possess. Purple Han. How do you spell that? It should be Han purple. I'll say it. Don't spray it. That's not what I meant to do. Oops. I said it backwards anyway. I'm partially dyslexic. Dyslexic? Okay, dude. No, dude, no. They have the Egyptian blue. That's weed. Why is this so hard to find? I'll say Chinese purple. It's Chinese. Here, this right here.
Since the beginning of time, man has searched for different and more exotic materials for use with the pigments used in their art. From simple cave paintings many tens of thousands of years ago to the perfection seen from masters during the Renaissance, none have ever been as interesting as our next artifact. Known as Han Purple, it has been found on relics dating back 3,000 years.
Can you spell that?
Used in wall paintings, on the terracotta warriors, ceramics, metalwares, and jewelry, the pigment found its way into many ancient Chinese art, and amazingly, this intriguing pigment is a technological wonder. It was such an enigma, made through such a complex process using many different materials in precise proportions, and then heating the mixtures to incredible temperatures. Researchers at the British Museum have discovered that when the pigment is exposed to an LED light source, Han Purple pigment will emit a powerful ray of light in near infrared.
Whoa.
According to their study, published in the journal Analytical and Bioanalytical Chemistry, the Han Purple pigments show up under the right conditions, meaning that even faint traces of the color, which are invisible to the naked eye, can be seen with infrared sensors. A complex pigment clearly developed for complex applications. Unlike natural dyes found within antiquity, which are organic compounds, Han Purple is a synthetic pigment made from inorganic materials. Scientist Elizabeth Fitzhugh, a conservator at the Smithsonian, was the first to identify the complex synthetic compound that makes up Han Purple, including a barium copper silicate. How these ancient people acquired such knowledge is clearly a question which needs to be answered. And although many people often scoff at ancient alien theories, quantum physicists from Stanford, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and the Institute for Solid-State Physics of Tokyo have reported that when Han Purple is exposed to extreme cold and a high magnetic field, the chemical structure of the pigment enters a new state called the quantum critical point, in which three-dimensional materials loses a dimension. We have shown for the first time that the collective behavior in a bulk three-dimensional material can actually occur in just two dimensions. Ian Fisher, an assistant professor of applied physics at Stanford, said in the Stanford report. The researchers have said that the discovery may help understand the required properties of new materials, including more exotic superconductors. Was this marvelous pigment a gift from somewhere else? We find the evidence to be highly compelling.
I do too. So there's that. No, what are you talking about? Why is it doing that? Just to mess me up? Yeah, Han Purple. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so if you balance out two things where you have the two things have two things, where you make the whatever the generalized this or that dualism is, break the dualism into quadrants. So if you can look at things like that with that form of balance, it helps you not become emotionally entangled into all this bullshit going on in the world. Because if you're going to be fully heart chakra, you're going to have an active form of empathy, which means you're going to be always subject to taking emotional hits. If you take a hit emotionally, it's your fault because you had some issue and you've externalized it. That's whether or not that's what happened with Will Smith. I suggest that I only looked at it in the best light for Will Smith, because I wanted him to have love for his baby mama, because that I found useful also to myself. I'm sorry about your eye, Chris Rock. Or maybe it was just a stunt. It doesn't even matter, because actually, on my premise of reality, both are simultaneously true. But I can only take away the one where I wouldn't personally hit someone's in the eye, because I did, but it wasn't for talking about my girl. It was somebody was talking to my girl and she was being all flirty with him. This was in high school. I cold cocked somebody in the fucking eye the same way, but with the fist, not the fucking open hand slap. That's the only thing that makes me think possibly that shit was fake, but I don't care. I'm already moving on. I'm going somewhere else. But we do have some good balance with that. I played that girl listening to one, and a black dude listening to Black Sabbath, loving it. And it was good because these are things that I am not. Not a black man. I can't ever listen to some music I love for the first time. But I can share that. I can listen to some music, someone different. See, it keeps my channels open. Like, I'm interested about what that girl says with, she's telling the story about the opera. I don't necessarily like the opera, but I like listening to what she explains from it because of the emotional currency that already exists because of I watched her and I used that video to help sort of prove a point or put two of these things together, because they are a way more powerful engine that way than they are the other way, tearing shit down. All these things about, where they're like, oh, you're bad, you're not doing this and that. That's tearing people down. I think that we can all still very freely and creatively build each other up. And that's really my point. Have a nice day.